What's going on, family? Give me 1 second. Hey, family, I wanted to talk to y'all real quick. I just got out of consultation, and I just got some news earlier. Blessings to my good brother Ronald. You gotta teach me how you do the magic out there, man. Teach me how to do the magic. But listen, man, I had just got some news. Give me a second, official. And it was about family members and things of that nature. And the person was basically saying that, they not that talented, and that everybody else, got the long end of the stick and they got the short end. And I had to think about it because, and then I had the consultation I just had, a young lady ask me, she said, how did you get the knowledge and the mind that you have today? And I have to thank Allah for one. All praise is due to Allah. Because I've been through a lot of circumstances. I've been through a lot of life events. I've studied, I've reflected, and at this particular point in time, I'm considering myself to be a high-level observer. And I observe, I take in insights. But one thing I've always had the ability to do was build on my gifts. Once I discovered I had a gift, once I discovered I had a talent, I built on that talent. If I learned that I could speak, then I'm going to exploit my own speaking abilities to say, let's utilize this as a new tool. You understand me? If I learn that I can write, well, let's utilize this as a tool. Right? I'm putting that on my resume for life as far as what I want to go get. You understand me? So what ended up happening was once I learned that I could write, well, damn, let me write a book. Now, we was talking about how women have always written diaries, written diaries. You understand me? You always kept a log and a journal. But see, society had told you, of course, keep secret your journal and not let anybody know. So you learn to keep secret your writing abilities and your thoughts. But in today's time, you understand me, sharing your thoughts and blogging them can become a value. But in those times, of course, keeping your thoughts secret to yourself and just having a way to express yourself, you understand me, had value to you. But you didn't realize the whole time you was cultivating a talent. You understand me? That talent was your writing abilities. Right? It's like we all have talents, gifts, and things of that nature, but a lot of us don't even realize it. Your ability to speak, your ability to think, your ability, your perspective, your ability to write. You have so much power in who you are, but you can't realize your gifts. Depression is definitely a real thing. Trauma is definitely a real thing. Sometimes some of us self-loathe. We don't love ourselves. And then we think that nobody else loves us. And so I really wanted this message that really come from the heart because, this affects my own people, my family, and things of that nature. And it's not easy when a person is in that dark space and they don't realize all of the gifts and talents that they do have. They don't realize how amazing they are because nobody's taught them that, you understand me? And they haven't been utilizing it in a way that becomes a value to them. So they don't think that it's valuable because they haven't been utilizing it. You understand me? But those talents are valued. That's the whole point. You understand me? Is that you are right now on the other end of this is so powerful and you have so many talents and you have so many tools that you can use in your box, but nobody's taught you how to turn those talents into skills, right? See, talent is something you naturally good at. Skill is something you develop and you work at. When you have to work at something and that development of it into a skill, you can turn that into utility in industry. See, at a time, it might not, and you never thought it was a talent because you never learned how to use it in such a way to where it brought you back value. It brought you back money. It brought you back opportunities that people told you that you're good at this thing. Just think about that for a second. I had a person told me I was good at speaking after this speech I gave when I was maybe 9, 10 years old. And it was a person that normally was like a bully. And they told me, they said, you know what, man, you really good speaker, man. I love that. Because I would be that child that would have to come when another child would mess up. I had to remember their lines and come speak in and fill in case they froze up. And it stuck with me. I had past positive proof. But see, if you're not conditioned to where you don't have any proof of your own power, then it's hard for you to pull that when it's time, when you need to and when you want to use it. You understand me? Like, once I developed the asset of learning how to paint, like I can paint if I want to, and we used to paint on shirts when I was younger, and we used to sell them, and that's how we developed our brand and our clothing brand. The first crown I ever made, it was painted. So once I learned that I can paint, I turn it into a business. You understand me? Every time I learn I have a talent, I build on that. Every characteristic I learn that is good about myself, I just build on it. You understand me? What's happening with y'all? Blessings. So every time that I build on something, then I can utilize it. You understand me? So now, cool, you can speak, you can write, you can think, you can rap, you can draw, you can design, you can market, you can brand. You understand me? Every single one of those things now has become a utility. You understand me? But a lot of you all have gifts that you're not really opening throughout the year to be like, all right, this is my resume builder for myself that I can utilize. You understand me? Some of you all like to write and like to type. Some of you all like to read. You understand me? Like all of those can be talents that you can utilize to empower yourself. But at the same time, we also have to get to a point where, especially with your children, you have to compliment your children's talents. They're going to remember that for the rest of their life. You understand me? Because it can have a deep impressioning moment that creates a memory that forms their personality. Or it can have the opposite effect. You understand me? The encouragement that they get is very important. But I also wanted to make this point about education. You know, we're taught to down the education system. Education system was started by a man born May 4th named Horace Mann. You understand me? And his purpose of starting this education system, of course, was to make workers. It wasn't to make thinkers. We are correct. But the word university comes from universe. You understand me? And it was meant to make people polymathic, to where your skill sets can span in many different areas. Not go with the paradigm of, oh, you a jack of all trades. No, you a master of trades. See, nobody taught that we can be a master of multiple trades. You understand me? A master of multiple trades. We've always heard the jack of all trades. There's a percentage of the population that can actually do very well multitasking. You understand me? If we taught only one way, then we filter the way we do these things like, oh, I'm not supposed to do these things good because jack of all trades. You understand me? Is the operating system that human beings operate on when they into multiple things. But then there's other people that have multiple things that they like to do. Now, of course, focus is very important. And reading is definitely at an all-time low. And most people can't concentrate, which means that they can't focus. You understand me? And if you can't focus, you can't read, then you can't get the things that require focus. So you lose all of that. So that's why school is definitely important in many different ways. But the thing is that we have to control school. You understand me? Because school has been created to indoctrinate you into a consumer, a slave way of thinking. It's not meant to make you the master of the domain. You don't go to school and they teach you how to open a school, right? They don't teach you how to run the school. You understand me? They don't teach you what the teacher is teaching in the format, in the curriculum. There's not transparency in the school model. You understand me? Now, the way school was built, because now we're getting to this place to where a person can teach themselves how to code and create hardware and software, and they can create whatever they want. They don't have to go to MIT. You understand me? They can just pursue a passion. But when we're in school, we're taught to study subjects, right? Now, a lot of these subjects, depending on the way that they're taught, if we own our own education systems, then they could be very beneficial to us. But it's just that, especially the generation of black and brown children are not mathematical thinkers, right? We're not taught complex mathematics at an early age. For one, we're taught that learning curves happen at much higher, like slower rates. In other places, think of it like this, right? 12th grade and 18 should not have a correlation, but the 12th grade and 18 does, right? The normal, like, graduating age, right, for a high school senior is 18. But everybody learns different. You understand me? That should not be. If the normal grade range was 15, then of course everybody will move at a higher pace, but it's spread out to dull the mind to keep you at a particular pace. When you go to college, college says that, okay, you are going to pay us to learn some things that you're either going to pass or fail. And if you don't pass, then we keep your money and you go in debt. Now, once you enter these institutions, you're forced to take these particular classes so you can get your credit so that you can get out of that institution. But if this is not something you're passionate about, you're not failing because you don't have gifts, you don't have talents, you don't have genius. You're failing because it don't connect with your nature. It don't connect with your gifts. It don't connect with how you think and you see the world. You understand me? You might not want to take something and then you're still forced to take it. So now you have to fight yourself every time you go in there to pass it so you don't go in debt. It's a racket because they already know that everybody is different, right? Since everybody is different, then how can the same structure be set up? You don't go get assessment tests before you go into this college to be like, all right, let's learn how this person thinks, right? So tell me which way that you learn, right? Colleges are not utilizing AI technology to teach based off everybody's individual, right, being in nature. Because you should be able to go take a test and be like, okay, I learned like this. I'm interested in this. This is my dream. This is my goal. And then they educate you in a particular way to where it allows you to grow. But that ain't what's happening. So at this particular stage, when we get into self-education, peer-to-peer education, and creating our own facilities, then we get to a point to where we say, you know what? Once we create our own schools, we have to make them in a way that's turning out geniuses, that's turning out gods. You understand me? But we not at that point yet. We not at that stage yet. But there's going to be a lot of self-education that's happening. And then another thing that I was just talking about was the fact that parents have the greatest ability to be able to teach their children utilizing the tools. How you doing? Blessings. Blessings. But it's like we would give our children iPads, right? I don't have children, but I'm telling you about it. Oh, yeah, definitely around. We give our children iPads, right? And tell them to go take these phones and then walk away. Not realizing that these phones and this technology have become the greatest tools for us to be able to teach our children and connect with them. Why? Because at a point in time to where we used to have to ask our parents for information. And our parents sometimes didn't have it, and they'll give it to us based on their limited knowledge. And that limited knowledge became your belief. And that was passed down, and you forgot that, oh, my parent didn't really know what they was talking about. Today, of course, your parent can have all the answers. Once they leave school, that's your opportunity to really teach them, right? So it's like, what if you want them to grow and expand in different areas? You can also just easily go on YouTube, spend an hour, and then sit down and then teach them something that you just learned. So now you really become their greatest teacher of expanding their mindset. You understand me? But the parents are not utilizing the tools to teach their children and make them greater. They're utilizing this tool to pacify their children so that they don't have to raise them for a particular point in time. You understand me? But now a parent would be like, damn, let me go learn some science real quick that I'm interested in, teach them something, you understand me? And now you're developing their mind to be more universal. Now you're studying your child to see what they really like so that you can point them in the right direction so they can continue to grow and grow and grow and grow. But it's just the way that we utilize these tools. The same thing with artificial intelligence, right? Artificial intelligence is something that we worry about. Artificial intelligence is something that definitely will take over human jobs. Now, as a boss, if I could trade in my employees for bots, you do that because you want to be effective, you want to increase your bottom line, right? You want to decrease human error. Human error, you got to take that percentage into account that human beings will mess up. The machine can do the job calculating at rates that the human being will not be doing. Now, every single thing, you understand me? Every single thing that we do that can be automated will be automated, meaning that if a machine can take it over, the machine will. So we have to look at that as a gift, right? So damn, we no longer have to do jobs that machines can do, mundane, boring jobs. You understand me? So what happens when a boss doesn't have to do too many tasks and multitask and do everything? You can focus on what you really want to think about, what you really want to do. Now you can get into your creative. You understand me? So now you can scale. So human beings are the same way. We just not thinking like bosses. If you're thinking like a worker, you like, shit, all of the jobs go dry up and we ain't gonna have no opportunities for my children. But if you develop them to think like bosses, then nah, you just don't have to do the jobs of the workers. You don't have to do machine jobs. The same way in farming industries, you no longer have to farm because now they got these big caterpillars that can come there and do the job of 100 farmers. So it's not a bad thing per se, but if the black and brown community look at this and be like, damn, okay, artificial intelligence is going to be taking over the McDonald's job. So now we can focus on more sophisticated thought processes. We can focus on the arts. We can focus on technology. We can focus on sciences, right? And then we can create our own opportunities based off the technology in the way that it exists. Because artificial intelligence is nothing but the second coming of the internet, right? Imagine if the internet was coming and they was like, you know what? The enemy is going to use the internet. They're going to be getting rich. They're going to be making billions. They're going to be taking data and trying to control us, blah, blah, blah. But they never explain the opportunities that come along with it, meaning that we can utilize the same thing. Say, wait a minute. If they just made the internet, then how come we can't use the internet? Oh, we never said you couldn't use the internet. Oh, if we can use it, then they making a social platform. Oh, we can use a social platform to empower ourselves, right? Create mass movements, get people out of jail that was formerly incarcerated, make billions of dollars, make ourselves famous, create synergistic, movements around the world and have collectivism throughout the diaspora to teach and get everybody on one accord. Can we utilize it for that? Oh, yeah, you're right. But we have low-level observations. So wait a minute, what if we utilize artificial technology in the same way? The problem is that if something new is created and it's using you and you not using it, that's when it's the problem. And so if you have the consumer mindset, then you're always thinking about how you can be a consumer. You're not thinking about being a boss. See, a boss not worrying about losing. You understand me? You're worrying about ability to be able to keep the business and what he got to do in order to keep that business flowing. Right? So business is the activity of life. So what new activities can you commence in to keep yourself successful? You understand me? But it's the thinking that has to change, because the thinking allows you to always find utility and use and productiveness. So if I'm not thinking like a consumer, what am I thinking like? A producer. If I'm not thinking like an employee, what am I thinking like? A boss. So entrepreneurial thinking, you understand me, it's for everybody. It's for everybody. So yeah, you got to build on your gifts and talents and strengthen those. You understand me? It's too many of y'all that don't write resumes to yourself. Take the second, write a resume to yourself. What I mean by that? A resume is a list of content of things that you have throughout your life that can be valuable for somebody else as an asset so that they can use you. Now, if you take a second and you want to be able to work for yourself, imagine if you wrote a list of all your skills and talents that you constantly develop. Everything that you do is a talent, is a gift, right? It's a new experience. If I just wrote a book, then guess what? Not only did I just write a book and I became an author, now I can become a teacher of how to write a book because I have the experience that I just went through. Cool. 3 things I just put down on my checklist. Everything you do, you can teach from experience because it's now knowledge that you have. Now, it's not to say that your level of experience is enough to teach people. You also have to spend time with it and do it in the best manner. So now let's say, okay, I wrote a book. Not only did I write a book, I became better at it. By the time I wrote my 5th one and I utilized technology to be able to do the marketing, the infrastructure, and I created a bestseller, you know what I mean? But then, wait a minute, I learned the game on how to create a #1. How do you get the pre-orders to where as soon as your book drops, it become a #1? You can utilize that #1 to book speaking engagements and win all across the world. See, that second set of knowledge was the smarts. Right? So now you want to go to people that not just have knowledge and experience, you want to go to people that have the smarts, because they can tell you how to scale and how you can skip a lot of the mistakes that you're going to be making. Every time you get into a new thing, you have to do risk assessment. Okay, what can go wrong? If I think about what can go wrong and I set a system in place for it, then guess what? I can avoid those issues and those problems. So third thing, success blueprints. Success blueprints are monumentally important that everybody needs to understand. Yesterday, I took some time out and I was studying the LGBT and the ADL success blueprints, right? So I found out that, okay, the ADL been around for about 100 years. They got a code of conduct. They got a way that everything is written out in a way that they want to do everything. But here's the thing you got to understand. Hundreds of years ago, thousands of years ago, they went and stole they stole our blueprints of how we built up our civilizations, and they said, Anti-Defamation League, you understand me? It's Jews and everything with Israel. So they went and stole our blueprints. So they said, you know what, damn, they got all these blueprints around. I got you, Pops. They got all these blueprints around, and they telling us how to build they Timbuktu libraries, got everything on how they built up everything around here. And they just got this stuff lying around. They not even tripping off of it. Because we weren't worried about nobody come stealing, taking over us, blah, blah, blah. So what ended up happening? They took the knowledge, burnt it, so we didn't know how we built our own shit, and then they built up their world based on our knowledge, right? So, cool. All right, we see. That's how they did us. Today, if you go on Wikipedia, you go through the internet, you can find a blueprint on how every organization and every structure was start up and how it was set up, right? So I'm like, okay, you don't like the LGBT agenda, but they put their blueprint out there exactly how they started up. So you can go take their knowledge, right? Build your own. Next thing you know, but they say black people don't read. We don't care. We put it all out. They ain't gonna do nothing with them. Success blueprints are everywhere. Every single where. Everybody you complain about leads a success blueprint you can build. How you think they stole everything from us? They just made us forget. So the goal is to be like, all right, I ain't gonna complain about this shit. Let me go study to see how they built that, and then I can become their adversary. Think about it for a second. So it depends on how you look at things. The 19 Keys is all about becoming a high-level observer, looking at things from the 1 through 9, taking the insights of those metrics and being able to make better decisions and finding the meaning in the otherwise meaningless. Because we low-level observe, we judge. Judgment is you pouring out energy on something. Observations, you taking in insights. That's the difference, right? So back to point number 2, which was about artificial intelligence. You got to understand that slavery came because they wanted a workforce, right? So if they wanted a workforce, so they went and said, okay, this is where we're going to get our workforce from. I went to Africa, they stole some slaves, right? They stole some of the black people that was in America, they turned them into slaves. That's what, it was a necessity of workforce. They knew that they could not build up the great nation that America is today without a workforce. So wait a minute. Then you have industrial revolutions. Machines start to come in, right? You got cars. You got automotive. You understand me? You have the printing press industry. Then it say, okay, imagine if machines were built back then, would they have needed slaves? Today, the reason that everybody got to work these goddamn jobs is because the businesses need slaves. Workers, call it what you want, right? But if they could replace this with machines and they no longer need the slaves. Now, what can a slave do with his freedom? The slave can do anything that he wants to because now he's no longer a slave. He's free. He becomes a master. So, yeah, man, we tapped in. I just wanted to impregnate that thought pattern on people's mind to be able to think at a higher level and a higher consciousness. You're going to be bombarded by fear. I'm going to tell you what pushes people's content today. What's popular, current topics, what can get you to be feared and scared. Aggressive. If you come off very aggressive, the algorithm promotes all of these different things. Polarizing. You're taking one point on it. It's only one. This is my way. It's black or white. These are ways to boost up. Now, I mean, I'm giving you the game. Take it, use it how you want to as a God or a devil. That's up to you. You know what I'm talking about? But that's the way that the algorithm works. Now, the game is so that you can become a high-level observer, so that you can utilize this information in a capacity that's good for our people, not detrimental. You know what I'm saying? So listen, I'm working on a project that I'm going to need writers, especially people who have who blogged before, who are familiar with WordPress. But anybody that's a writer can definitely be involved. And I'm also looking for 50 artists to tap in as well. So DM me if you fit that build. But yeah, man, back to the original point number 1. Build on your gifts and your talents. You're not cursed. You understand me? Your depression is your constant living in the past. But your power is to be able to present yourself in the present, you know what I mean, with who you truly are. So we got a lot of work to do, and we got a lot of things to do on ourselves mentally before we get to that point to where artists that can create propaganda. Yeah. But yeah, man, it's sad to be able to see our people in the condition that they're in, man. Sometimes a person will smile to cover up the pain. You understand me? And we walk past these smiles and we take it for granted because we know that these people don't want us to throw all of their psychological issues on us. So we smile and we never actually express what's going on underneath. And so you take that for granted in your friends and your family and the people that surround you. You understand me? But you got to check on your people, talk to them. People that hide a whole mental illness and issues with themselves just so that they don't put that on you, or you don't look at them a certain way anymore. You understand me? Now, we got to get to that point of fully expressing ourselves so we can move forward. But once you know a thing about you that's good and that you're good at, you can see value in yourself. That's why we focus on our gifts and our talents. You understand me? Because you can't have a true feeling of self-worthlessness if you know your worth, if you know your talents and what your gifts are. And so the cultivation of every time you see you good at something, build on that. I build on all my strengths. Every time I see, oh, you was good at that. All right, we can use that to build you. Look at yourself in the third person. All right, let's build 19 keys. I like the way you think on that. I like the way you wrote that. I like the way you organized that event. Oh, you a natural leader. Let's build on your leadership skills. You got to build yourself up so that you can become that God body. Arm, leg, arm, head. DNA is AGTC. Allah, God, the creator. That's how I break it down. Anyway, listen. If you want to know more of this type of thinking and information, go to my YouTube channel, subscribe. You know what I'm talking about? Listen to the podcast. I just dropped some new ones up. I'm dropping, I think, another episode tonight. And also get my book, Paradigm Keys. I have a new book coming out. That book will also be in paper form soon. And I have a new book coming out, 19 Keys, High Level Observations. That one it's gonna be powerful, deep. So yeah, man, build on your gifts and your talents. Link in the bio for consultations for one-on-one. Tap in.